Well, greetings and hello there, everybody. It's me, your beloved Star Wars dad, Nooch Too Good, and I'm here today with Dorky Dad on audio. The cool thing is he's streaming on Twitch right now while we record this, which is a brand new experience for me. I wasn't prepared for a couple things that I'll have to get a little more expertise around the matter of working with somebody while they're streaming. But Dorky Dad, it's good to talk to you today, sir.
Hey, it's good to finally meet you and to hang out.
Yeah, and it's fun. So I watched one of your farming guides. I think the most recent one when I started the game, and that's a lot of my questions will center around that. And as I told you, I picked up the game about 2.5 weeks ago, just trying to figure out, how the game's working, what's going on, and I wanted to understand because Galaxy Heroes and Marvel Strike Force are very similar. I'm finding a lot of differences along the way, but I've got questions for you about this beginning farming game, and let me open up by just asking if you have any general advice to get me started off with.
Yeah, follow the tea leaves that the Marvel Strike Force developers give you. They're gonna basically guide you to the teams that you need for events. Like, it's gonna be the newest teams needed for the newest events. But also in events, in calendars, they're very generous with raid teams, which is kind of the big thing that you need to actually actively progress towards, because raids are so important as far as end resources go and just unlocking the best characters, kind of what we call mythical characters. So big names like Odin, Mephisto, Super Skrull, Doom, and the game does a good job leading you there. So just keep an eye out on what those teams are currently in the meta.
Yeah, I have noticed that really it becomes all about the raids early on. So, and I know that Odin comes later, like at level 100 or something. You gotta be high level to get Odin.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let me ask you this. So farming around the raids and farming what they give you, I get that. Let me tell you a difference between this and Galaxy of Heroes and kind of get your feedback, because I'm still struggling to get over it. So Galaxy Heroes, we have, much like Marvel Strike Force, we've got the events, the mythic, the legendary events. You've got, we got them here in Marvel Strike Force for Black Bolt and Jubilee, Invisible Woman, etc. And in Galaxy Heroes, we have the same thing for Yoda and Luke and on down the road. But in Galaxy Heroes, you actually will take your roster and farm your way directly toward one of those journeys. Whereas it feels like in Marvel Strike Force, it's more like just build your roster and the journeys will come your way. And I want to get your feedback and if that's how you feel about it too.
Yeah, so for the longest time, just like in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, it was very rigid. Like, you had to actually actively farm a legendary unlocks team in order to get that legendary character. But that's not always worth it for a lot of our legendary characters. And so what Scopely did to kind of make it easier for people is they started adding new tags for newer teams that make more sense to unlock these legendary characters. So like you said, it does kind of just come to you because they are actively updating those tags, or they've left those tags broad enough, like for the Apocalypse unlock, where instead of needing an exact team like it used to be, you need unlimited X-Men. Well, now you just need X-Men characters. So any new X-Men character can come in and help you with that journey. And so it's a little bit more player friendly than it used to be. And by the sounds of it, more friendly than Star Wars Galaxy Heroes currently is.
Yeah. So, and then what I've also noticed is that, the farming guides, like you went through the shops and when I watched yours, and most of it, from what you said, was just grab the orbs. Most of the shops, you're just going to grab the orbs, and maybe in the I think it's the Blitz shop or the Arena shop, I can't remember, where you might be grabbing the Arena shop is where it is. Maybe you're grabbing in there Spider-Man Noir shards with the currency, or Gambit. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because it feels like if I just did the orbs, then my team would develop naturally where it needs to be, even with the raids, as opposed to really digging in and grabbing these characters individually throughout the different shops, I guess.
Yeah, so for all these stores, with the exception of the Arena store, the orb is just so much more economically friendly. And those are characters that you might need for legendary unlocks or for flash events along the way. And they have these sort of increased drop rates for the best character in these given orbs. Like for the Blitz orb, the best character in there has a 10% drop rate instead of 0.8% or whatever it is for all the other characters. So it kind of organically gets you the better teams just by going the orbs at a faster pace. The Arena store being the exception. So the Arena store orb doesn't have that same sort of drop rate, enhanced viability, And there's chances that you're just not going to get great stuff from the side pillars on that orb. So the arena store becomes the one store where it's like, okay, buckle down, know what kind of character you need to at least unlock for their various teams. And then you want to target farm that character. And then, well, there'll come a time where you actually just want to buy the resource from the arena store as opposed to the characters.
Right.
And I assume you're going to ask me about that too, because in that video, I believe I said like, hey, there comes a point where just don't farm characters, just farm resources. Yeah. So the arena store is kind of the exception to the rule. Otherwise, the orbs are kind of just best.
That makes sense. And then let me ask you this. So somebody said in your chat just now, and I did talk to Boylan, but it's like most of the roster that you're going to accumulate is not functional anyway once you get deep enough into the game. And they're doing reworks. Like I've got Captain America, Sam, Cable, and Beast that I'm farming, and Storm. And I think those are some of the recent reworks. But if they're not a recent rework, that they might be okay for you early, then they're going to fade fast as you get to the later game.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The meta moves very quickly. So let me give a very current example. The Hive Mind team, it's a symbiote-based team. It is the current bio team for raids. It will be phased out soon with the new raids coming, probably within the next 4 months or so. And then that Hive Mind team, they're not great in all other modes, with the exception of maybe the new Null character, maybe Revitalize them. But as a general rule, when a team gets pushed out of its game mode in kind of that meta top 10 space, or it is the raid tag that you need to have, they become virtually worthless because just the stats, the kit power creep pushes teams very, very far away. But like you said, we get reworks quite often. The formula Scopely seems to be going with is for a new team, if they're going to make a whole new team, which like they normally do, it's 3 new characters plus 2 reworks.
Yeah.
So as you are farming these orbs that we were just talking about along the way, like you could just be accidentally farming 2 very important characters that you're going to need to patch in the future, which adds further benefit to farming the orbs.
And the recent example is Rocket and Groot, right? With the Starjammers. Is that the right assessment?
Correct. A little bit of an unfortunate example because they're not the best. They're not as good as other reworks we've seen in the past. But yeah, they are on the team and they are necessary to activate some of the important passives on the team.
Okay. It's all really interesting to me because they're very similar games, but they're very different when it comes to like the orb farming and dropping and everything. I had a question that it left my brain. Let me ask you this. I get a lot of inbox messages. I get a lot of different, what's the right word? The diversity of rewards that I get in the game and the volume of rewards is really hard to keep up with. Is that something that it's just because I'm a new player, or is that just something that is last the end of the game? It seems like there's constantly stuff dropping into my inbox and into my rewards, and I'm like, oh, I got that. I don't know what it's for, or that milestone, or something like that. It's really difficult to keep up with that stuff.
Yeah. So can I ask what level you are currently?
I'm level 64. I've been playing about 2.5 weeks.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. So what Scopely has done kind of for that new player journey, which has been awesome, they jam-packed the milestone rewards with like past tier progressions in an extreme degree. So you're probably getting a bunch of orange gear that you're not really going to be using until you're level 70. You're going to get a bunch of teal gear, which you're not going to use till you're level 85. Because the way the progression goes, as far as gear, it goes green, blue, purple, orange, teal, and then crimson. But you will be earning all of these progression paths while you do any sort of event in the game, which is really cool because now you are stockpiling up a nice little hoard. So whenever your account does hit this new progression path, you have immediate resources that you can play into. So not only are you working your way through the mid game as you just do your daily stuff, you're also getting resources that are going to help you hit that end game that much faster and be ready to kind of get into the fight right away. It's a really nice way that they've added a catch-up mechanic that honestly I didn't even think about. So you brought up like you're getting all this kind of stuff that you don't know what to do with, but there's going to be a moment where you're like, oh, I'm on this new gear tier. I can just do this here now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, because I do see a lot of the teal, and the orange stuff and purple. Yeah, I don't know what's what yet, so I'm still kind of adjusting as I go, I guess, to that stuff. Let me ask you this, because a big part of my channel is I'm always doing a free to play journey in Galaxy Heroes, and I'm playing this game free to play because I don't even know what's going on yet. I'm not going to go and spend money on a game. I don't know what's going on with the game.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me, here's the feedback I get from a lot of people. Hey, free to play is fine and you can have fun for a while, but once you get to the end game, you're just done and you can't do anything. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I wouldn't disagree with that. So that's true to a certain extent. If you're like, I want to be free to play and I want to compete in the top 25 of players, or I want to get Professor Xavier, who's our newest mythic character, I want to get him day one. Like, yeah, that's not happening. Mobile games always have this kind of insane price tag, which I'm sure you're aware of. I'm guessing Star Wars Galaxy has that too. What I would say is that I made a new account about a year and a half ago, and I did it free to play for about 8 months. I got to the end game and I was doing the cutting edge content, and I was able to level up every new character that came out to a usable level, all because, and this is the most important thing you'll ever do in Marvel Strike Force, you find a full, very active alliance. It's about the people you surround yourself with. It's about having the same sort of goals in mind as the other 23 people in your alliance, going after war, knowing that, hey, there's an alliance event going. We all need to do this. It's going to give us a bunch of purple ISO, help us all unlock Odin faster. So that sort of community dynamic is so impactful in Marvel Strike Force. Now, will you be able to max out every single character as they come out free to play? No, you'll probably pick and choose. Hey, I'm going to skip a full patches team here. This is for war. I don't super love war. Pile my currency, but the next team I will be able to do that. So it is about picking and choosing your battles there too.
Yeah, that's all. I think for any free to play player in any mobile game, you've got to dial in and pick your spots and plan around what you're doing. And I like the feedback about the alliance. We actually just, some folks that I were following my previous channel or follow me on my channel for Galaxy Heroes just started up a Marvel Strike Force alliance because I got a lot of people that play both games, and so they're helping me kind of learn it as I go. That's nice. Really a lot of the questions I had when I look at the game. So let me ask you, as the new teams come out. So right now when we're looking at the new events, it's the Liberty Showcase and the Starjammers are the two most recent ones, and the ones that are still out there as events. So are those like the two biggest? Because you mentioned they come out for different game modes, right? Like you might have one of these teams comes out for Raid, the other one comes out for Cosmic Crucible. I know I've seen like people are using Odin and I don't know Thanos. I got that wrong, but out there in Cosmic Crucible together as cosmic characters. But I guess, and well, let me say one more thing. So I've also noticed like when I've got characters like, and yeah, I don't know if he's any good or not. Or I'll say Storm. I think that Storm's been an upgrade, but she's got very specific kit tied both to Jean Grey and then Immortal Avengers, or Uncanny Avengers, sorry. So, which by the way, I haven't collected comic books in a long time. That's a weird, Uncanny Avenger just doesn't work for me as an old comic book collector, but regardless, it seems like it's really important to get those right. You know, you want as big a numbers as you can get when you put that team together. Like you want double-digit numbers on each of them, showing that they got that much synergy with the rest of the team. And how important is that as you move forward in the game?
Yeah, so there's some teams where synergy is the most important thing to not miss out on. So you brought up Storm. Storm is part of the Immortal X-Men, which is the Crucible team. She's also on the Uncanny Avenger team, which you're right, completely made up, but it's a 7-year-old mobile game. So they're trying to stretch things a little bit, I guess, to get a couple creative liberties. But she needs her teams to do a lot of her kit, especially you brought up Jean Grey. So she needs to be with Jean Grey and the other Immortal X-Men characters in Crucible, because as a full team, they'll stop speed bar. And so speed bar is like, it gives a boost to characters when they spawn in or when they gain speed bar. But the Immortal X-Men team stop that, which allows Storm to get her abilities off, earn her charges, and then throw that giant tornado at enemies and just wipe the field with everybody. So it is important to understand the synergies for sure, and understand like, hey, this Jean Grey power bump that she's getting from Immortal, this is only in Crucible. If I bring this into War, this team is slow as molasses. They can absolutely get lapped and get destroyed by older War-centric teams. So there's definitely a lot to be aware of there. But we also have a lot of theory crafting in the game, or at least we have. The last 3 patches have been very, very, very prescriptive. as far as team synergies and leaning into needing all 5 characters as opposed to needing, say, 3 characters here or there. But yeah, there's definitely things, the ins and outs are important to know here.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, and I can see I've got Ice Storm open right now on Storm, and it's just like Crucible offense, Immortal X-Men, Uncanny Event. Yeah, everything you just said. And that exists in Galaxy Heroes as well. Like, characters have specific upgrades for specific game modes, and if you use them outside of that, it may not work at all. So that makes a lot of sense. It's encouraging that you tell me that, yeah, you started a free-to-play account and 8 months later, and you know more than I do about the game, so, I don't know if I'm on the 8-month track, but that you were able to play in that end game, or close to it, I guess, and still have a lot of fun playing the game. That's really encouraging.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I know the ins and outs, so I probably, shaved off 4 to 5 months from that journey, knowing exactly, hey, I only care about this legendary. Forget about the rest. Hey, I know how to get Apocalypse, and I got lucky. They did a tag rework when I was in the midst of going for him, so I got him within like 3 months of play, and then that instantly kind of catapults you to, okay, I can do more in War now, I can do more in Crucible now, and you push sort of the tactic knowledge we were just talking about, like, hey, I know this team needs to be together. I can do that in Crucible. The earlier game Crucible, there's a lot of players who don't really quite know that stuff. So if you dive into this game and you learn the theory crafting stuff, you absolutely blow the early competition out of the water, and it helps your growth tremendously.
All right, and here's my last question. I just got started on my first Cosmic Crucible, and I'm just getting crushed. And again, I guess, they just match it up kind of randomly, or somebody like sort of within range from you, or just based on maybe there's people that don't play very much, but they still have bigger rosters. I just can't find a roster to beat. Is that like a normal thing, or should I be discouraged? And I've also been told just leave your what are they, the ninjas?
Hand.
Yeah, leave the hand out there on defense, because I don't have that many teams enough to set a decent defense anyway, and yet I go against my opponents, and they got defenses out there, and I beat what I can, but I'm 0-3 so far my first round here. So any thoughts or advice there, or am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, you're definitely doing the right thing, because in the early moments of Crucible, the way accounts level now is so fast. You don't even have 6 teams built up, let alone 12 by the time you open Cosmic Crucible. So you want to keep everything for offense. That's definitely the right call. Matchmaking is based on elo. So if there are players that don't care a lot about Crucible whatsoever, their elo has probably dropped down to the point where they're at the beginners. And maybe you just got lucky, and this is the 1 week those 3 people decided to play, or maybe they're finally playing because we're having a Cosmic Crucible centric event right now. So you could just be getting horrible sort of coincidental luck like that. But what I would strongly suggest for Crucible, for kind of the best growth, keep everything for offense until you're about 3 months in.
Okay.
And then you want to throw one big team on defense and keep everything on offense. And you're just going to add one team to defense. And it's not going to be one of your better teams. The one big team you put on, that's your golden goose for a while. Keep everything for offense. You retire your 7th best offensive team. Eventually goes onto the defense. And you just keep doing that over and over until all of a sudden you have a full roster and you can make sort of these interesting plays. And the sort of the gross and best part about mobile games is that newest is always best, right? It's always, because that's how they make money. They sell characters. Newest is always best. So by starting now, when you unlock, the next team is going to be the Vigilante team, which is a Daredevil-centric team. They're going to be better than a lot of Crucible teams. They're going to be better than a lot of War teams, even though they're a raid team. So you as a new player, you're just going to get them. You're going to build them up because you want them for raids anyway, and they'll slot in somewhere for you in one of those other modes and get you really good value.
So and I just tried to look up Vigilante, so that's not out yet. That's a coming team, is that right?
Yeah, that patch should probably hit in about a week or 2.
All right, well, Dorky Dad, that's all the questions I had. Honestly, every time I talk to somebody, you know how this works. You could offload like so much information on me, and I'll pick up 1 or 2 pieces. So I don't want to sit here and talk game all day long, because I'll walk out of it with 1 or 2 pieces after asking too many questions. This has been helpful for me for Crucible and farming and talking about the shops. What is something you would leave me with if I'm really looking at this early game? I know you talked about alliances and some of the shops. Is there anything else that I should be thinking about or focused on here in the early game?
In the early game, there is a new method to farm a lot of gold and a lot of training materials in the showcases that you brought up. These events, the first chapter, the last node, in the first chapter. If we go to the, I'll walk you through one. The Liberty Expedition. You go to the Peggy Carter, and then chapter 1. You'll see on that last node there are gold orb fragments.
Yeah.
This is going to be a way that you can quickly get ahead on your gold stock and your training material stock, because in Marvel Strike Force, leveling your characters is the biggest bottleneck. Equipping gear, equipping ISO, that all comes pretty easily just from what you're getting. You're getting a whole bunch of stuff dumped on you from these events you don't know what to do with yet. When you level your characters, it's going to become very obvious to do that with. So make sure you're farming as much gold and training materials as you possibly can.
Well, the good thing is that's exactly what I've been doing without really.
Excellent.
Yeah, because for me, it was pretty basic. Like, I go into Peggy Carter, and that was the first one I ever did. I was like, you don't know what's going on. And once you get to tier 2, you can't do it because you don't have Peggy Carter. So I was like, I'll just farm this last node and make sure I go and refresh as much as possible. So that's good. I'm glad I did something right there.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to farm it 30 times a day. So if you use an extra 50 cores on that, that's a really good gold income for you.
Ooh, I got one more question. I currently have 11,400 cores. Should I be spending more cores somewhere, or should I save them up and then try to just do one big unload on something to get a new character or something?
For the mid game and the early game, I really dislike the idea of coring for any new character. I just don't think the value is there, because the way the game works is the shards end up getting dumped on us within like a month, 2 months, 3 months. And then by 4 to 6 months, they're farmable in some sort of store, in some sort of campaign node. I would much, much, much more recommend using your cores to farm the gold nodes we were just talking about, to farm those training mod nodes we were just talking about, maybe sparingly on some events that are going to say, hey, spend cores here. They want you to core additional energy. So instead of doing just your 50 cores, you start coring for 100 cores for a certain energy refresh. And just sort of min-max the amount of gold, training materials, and event milestones that you could hit.
Got it. Hey, man, all of that is really super helpful. I just ran these gold orbs. I ran Peggy Carter's final node while we were talking there and refreshed it. I have not been refreshing those, so that seems like it's worth it. I have been refreshing my farming energy to get those nodes farmed, so that I'm definitely doing. I can start doing these story modes now. A couple weeks behind, but you know what? That's not that big of a deal. I'm going to be okay. Dorky Dad, hey, man, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming and talking to me while you're streaming today. I really do. It was good to meet you. It was good to talk to you. And I appreciate you.
No worries. Hey, looking forward to seeing what you do with Marvel Strike Force.
Thank you, sir. All right, everybody. Hey, have a great day. We will all talk to you very soon. Again, big thanks to Dorky Dad. And always remember, Nooch too good.